Marcus here, folks. And once again, it is time for your favorite show of mine, Countdown to Armageddon. Today's topic is very simple. You look in the news today and you see the protests going on again about another black man that has been shot. And the two sides have taken this both in directions that are kind of absurd. Look, the officer made a mistake. She should pay. There is no doubt in this. And that's what people are missing when they're looking at this. We have this belief, or certain members of society have this belief, that police should not be punished. They make mistakes. They shouldn't have to be accountable for them. And we see this from the Republicans a whole lot. They oppose the idea of removing this immunity that the police are granted. The whole idea that anybody is not to be held accountable for their actions is wrong. It sets them up as a special class. Now, does this mean I think they should be punished? No, I think what needs to happen is when an officer breaks the rules, breaks the law, hurts somebody, violates somebody's civil rights, they need to be held accountable for this. They need to be able to be sued, brought to court, and restitution made. That's number one. Number two, if they have done something that if a normal person did, they could go to jail for it, then the cops need to go to jail for it. This qualified immunity idea that is being pushed and protected basically says that the police, they can do whatever they want. And you see this time and time again in the attitudes of the police department. If you don't believe me, it's just simple. Go to YouTube, type in First Amendment audits. Take a look at some of these audits. Look at the way the police behave. Now keep in mind, the police are there to serve and protect. Their job is to serve the public. Does it sound like they're serving the public? When you see the way the police deal with the public, no, they don't seem to think they serve the public. Instead, their attitude seems to be the public is there for them. That they are somehow above the citizens. And that there's no basis to this. Except for the simple fact that nowadays, if a cop does something wrong, what are you supposed to do about it? You're supposed to complain to the department. The department investigates, and of course, they never find anything wrong. Nope, they were all within procedure. Yeah, wrongly arrested, falsely detained, that doesn't matter. He's a policeman. He or she can do whatever they want to do. And that attitude, it's not good for the police, number one. It sets them apart from the public. Now, this whole idea of qualified immunity has not been around for a long time. It's been around probably since the early 70s. And you know what you start seeing from the 70s on? You start seeing that separation between that and the idea that the police departments can make money off of enforcing certain laws. You get a split. Society isn't a whole anymore. It's being further split apart. The police are no longer part of the community. They judge the community. They enforce the community. And that sets them separate. You look at the old television shows where the beat cop walks the street, everybody says hi, they're all friends, everything's good. Those days are gone. And part of the reason they're gone is qualified immunity. When the police don't think they're accountable. And you see the police union saying that, no, you can't hold us accountable for our actions. that'll stop us from doing our job. Well, maybe they need to be stopped from doing from doing some of what they call their job. When you pull somebody over just because you don't like them, or they look different, or they are acting in a way that you don't approve of, but if it's not illegal, then why are you stopping them? Walking down the street, a man was walking home on the side of the road, and the police came in and they arrested him. Why? Because he was walking. They're going to arrest people because they don't want to talk to them. And on some of these cases, yes, the individuals that are wrong do go out. They do file their lawsuit. They file civil rights lawsuits in the federal court, and more often than not, the city will settle. But who pays that settlement? I know some people are saying, well, that's why they have insurance. Yeah, but who pays the insurance rates? The people do. So we're paying for bad cops to be bad cops and get away with it. Because more often than not, the worst that happens to the police officer is, okay, let's say the very worst thing that could happen to them is they get fired. It's okay because they just turn around and go get a job in another police department. There's nothing stopping them. So you got bad cops that just continue to go around and around and around. If the police department actually even fires them. More often than not, they're just told, don't do that. It sets up that separation. The police are no longer our friends, they're our enemies. The idea of the friendly policeman is gone. And when they decide to act friendly, the odds are they're trying to set you up for something. Now, look, I'm not anti-cop. I believe society needs the police department. And that's where I think BLM and the rest of them have gone too far the other way. We need cops. Cops enforce the laws and are supposed to be there to help keep us safe. To get rid of the police or defund the police, the only people you're hurting are those that live in the lower areas. By lower areas, I mean lower rent districts, the poorer communities. Why? Because the cops aren't going to be there. What we're seeing happening in society is you have the divide. You have the police that are afraid of getting charged with civil rights violations, are basically not enforcing laws in certain areas where they've had major crime. Look at Baltimore. Baltimore has riots over police. Police now are afraid to go in certain sections of Baltimore and actually do their job. Why? Because they don't want to be charged with racism. Part of that is, I'll say in some ways good, but in other ways, no, it's not good. Cops are learning, but they're learning the wrong lesson. Instead of learning to do their job and do the job right, they're learning to hide. And who pays? Once again, the public. Now, it's taken a lot to get that message across to the police. The wrong message, but it's still getting across. Why? Because they are seen as guilty. When the news reports that a police officer shoots someone, a certain segment of society immediately blames them and goes out. They torch cities. They do their violent protests, their riots, and members of the government look the other way and say, well, that's okay. And then the police are forced to basically arrest one of their own, put them on trial, even if they're not guilty. Even if an investigation shows that what they did was right, the police are afraid not to. Cities are afraid not to, because otherwise that group of people will burn them down. This is not the right way either. The right way, yes, I do agree. Some cases, these people need to be charged. I think any officer involved in shooting automatically should go to court. Why? Because you committed murder. You should be able to go to court, prove your innocence. Or have them, no, let's rephrase that. You don't prove you're innocent. You prove you followed the procedures, and it's up to the prosecutor to prove that what you did was wrong. That you violated the law. If they can't do that, then yes, you should be found not guilty, and that should be the end of it. But sometimes police do have to shoot people in the course of their job. Number one, if you're pointing a gun at me, anybody has the right to defend themselves versus that. Same thing with a knife or any other weapon. The idea that somebody said, why'd they have to shoot him? Because he was trying to kill him. We need a little, we keep hearing about common sense gun reform. We need some common sense police reform. We need the cops held accountable for what they did and what they do. The way they act, all of it. But in the same token, when what they do is what's necessary, they should be let go. There should be no, we're punishing you because I know he had a gun, but he was a black man, so you should have not shot him. No. If he's doing wrong, he needs to be punished. Do I think that cops should immediately shoot anybody that is armed? Of course not. There's got to be some common sense in it. Without some reform, then the police continue with the attitude of they can do whatever they want. And you see this attitude so often when they're dealing with the police departments. If you don't believe me, like I said, go to YouTube. Watch the different auditors out there. Watch how these people interact with the police. Yes, I realize some of these auditors are royal assholes. But being an asshole is not illegal. Being an asshole isn't the grounds for the cops to throw you up against a cop car and put you in handcuffs when you haven't done anything wrong. The concept that they're supposed to be operating under is reasonable, articulable suspicion that a crime has been committed, is being committed, or will be committed. If they don't have any of that, they should just leave the people alone. Yes, they have the right, when somebody is, quote, acting suspicious, to ask questions. Yes. Stop the person. Would you mind telling me what you're doing? Oh, you're just taking pictures. Okay. That's the end of it. Because taking photographs is legal. Yeah, I know a lot of people are like me. I grew up during the age when in order to take your photograph, you had to have permission. But the Supreme Court wisely has determined that if you're in public, you have no expectation of privacy when you're in public. Police officers should be recorded. That's why we want them to have body cams. The problem with the body cams is sometimes they get lost. Or the officer failed to turn it on. There's a case right now where the police came in. A police officer was sitting in his car, parked on somebody's private property. The lady came out, told the officer, get off my property. I don't want you sitting here. The officer got mad, accused the lady of throwing something at him, and in the process of arresting her, broke her teeth out. Number one, the whole episode, you go back to the very beginning. If the police were our friends, the lady wouldn't have said anything. But because they're not our friends, we don't want them around. She told the guy to go. He shouldn't have been parked on her property anyway. Once again, police think they are above the rules. They can do what they want because they're cops. They break the lady's teeth out, arrest her for telling him to get off the property. The body The officer admits he did not turn on his body camera until after he was coming out of his car to arrest her. So there is no evidence whatsoever to prove his accusation that she threw something at him. That's her word versus his. That's not a win for me. Publius wants to point out cops have to be accountable, but they should only be accountable for what they actually do. Certain things need to go. No-knock warrants, or you go into the wrong house. You go into the wrong house, then you're guilty. You didn't do due diligence. Qualified immunity needs to be thrown out. If you can't be accountable for your actions, then you shouldn't be in the job. Police unions that have gotten so powerful that bad cops get their jobs back need to go. Need to remember what the purpose of the police is. It's to serve and protect. It goes back to the primary function of government is to protect the citizens. Its job is to protect you from me and me from you. No further. It isn't there to protect your feelings. It isn't there to protect your profit. I'll qualify that. It isn't there to keep and make sure you make a profit. The police and the government are there to protect the people from each other. That's it. And when the police are no longer seen as an agency that protects people, then we got a problem. And the only thing we can do is fix this. And we fix this by getting rid of qualified immunity. We fix this by getting rid of the drug war. We start getting and making people accountable for their actions. And maybe, just maybe, when the ego and the chips get off all these police officers' shoulders, they can once again be part of the community. And we can see where everything goes. Alright, folks, this has been Publius. I hope you've enjoyed today's show. If you have, hit that like button. Please share the show with your friends. Hit your subscribe button. And if you'd like to make a donation to this channel, please don't hesitate to do so. I accept any forms of donations. Thank you all. You all have a great night.